Sup y'all, and welcome to the Geography of Industry and Services, Part 7. In this video, we're going to be looking at contemporary manufacturing by asking this essential question: how is industry and production distributed across the globe? In the world today, there are four primary regions or cores of manufacturing. From west to east, they are Eastern North America, anchored by Northeast United States and Eastern Canada; Western and Central Europe, where industrialization began; Russia and Ukraine, followed by East Asia, anchored initially by Japan and later by China, which has become one of the two largest economies in the world. By many estimates, these regions comprise around 75% of all manufacturing each year. To illustrate the economic and developmental dominance of the most developed countries, let's delve into some real numbers. As you can see with the country data in the chart, and looking at the population pyramid, Japan is one of the richest and most developed countries on the planet. Comparing Japan with the rest of the world, you can see it ranks toward the top in terms of health, represented by life expectancy; wealth, represented by gross domestic product with purchasing power parity; per capita income, and its labor composition by economic sector. And the data also shows education, represented by literacy. These three general categories, health, wealth, and education, give us the clearest indication of a country's relative development. And this data, taken together, clearly qualifies Japan as an MDC. There are also secondary industrial zones, concentrated in places like Mexico, Brazil, Egypt, South Africa, India, and Australia. As with anything else, industrialization is not distributed evenly. Just look at this larger scale map of Indian industrialization. You can see major manufacturing districts in the west, east, and the south. In most cases, these regions have propped up around resource nodes, around coal, oil, and natural gas. While most manufacturing is still conducted across the northern hemisphere, most of these regions have consequently experienced deindustrialization, where firms have outsourced and offshored production in order to relocate to regions with lower production costs and ultimately reap greater profits. This is a reality of the post-Fordist and post-industrial world. Towns and cities affected in these deindustrialized regions must adjust and attract service industries in order to regain economic stability. But they often experience a period of temporary unemployment. Now, the word temporary is in quotes because several of these regions have experienced systemic unemployment for decades, with little improvement, such as large swaths of Detroit, Michigan. A great deal of manufacturing has been outsourced to newly industrialized countries, or those that have experienced significant industrialization after World War II. These are very similar to semi-peripheral states. They include countries like Mexico, Brazil, South Africa, Turkey, India, and China, among others you see highlighted in purple. For instance, the People's Republic of China has been a major recipient of manufacturing jobs, initially due to their cheap labor. The Northeast District around Manchuria was their first major area of manufacturing, but has also become their Rust Belt, with many aging factories that are less productive than some of their southern counterparts. The Northern District is anchored by their capital, Beijing. There is also the Shanghai and Cheng District, and there is also the Guangdong District, anchored by Guangzhou, the third largest city in mainland China, which is also just north of Hong Kong. There are, of course, other manufacturing regions that have propped up since China's ascension. The four Asian tigers, or Asian dragons, are the highly developed economies of Hong Kong, South Korea, Singapore, and Taiwan. They are all considered to be more developed countries due to their high levels of health, wealth, and education. These nations and areas were notable for maintaining exceptionally high growth rates and rapid industrialization between the early 1960s and 1990s, in part due to cheap labor cost. All four have developed into advanced and high-income economies, specializing in areas of their comparative advantage. For example, Hong Kong and Singapore have become world-leading international financial centers, whereas South Korea and Taiwan are world leaders in manufacturing information technology. In 1997, a financial crisis gripped much of Asia. However, the four tigers all rebounded by the late 1990s and early 2000s, and they have proven to be strong rivals to traditional powers of Japan and China. The new Asian tigers, also known as the tiger cub economies, collectively refer to the countries of Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Thailand, the four dominant countries in Southeast Asia. They are so named because they follow the same export-driven model of economic development as the four Asian tigers. The new Asian tigers are referred to as cubs, the implication being that the four countries are rising economic powers and still maturing. They are all NICs and have the potential to be among the world's largest economies in the 21st century. Another group that have been on the rise over the past decade are the African lions, the fastest growing economies in Africa, which also comprise some of the fastest growing economies in the entire world. While seemingly no two publications can agree on which countries make up the African lions, they may include Algeria, Angola, Botswana, Chad, Congo, Egypt, Ethiopia, Ghana, Mauritius, Morocco, Mozambique, Nigeria, Rwanda, South Africa, Tanzania, Tunisia, and Zambia. While their economies are expanding quickly, and their societies are improving significantly, they still have a long way to go. However, with abundant and largely untapped natural resources, abundant cheap labor, and an expanding infrastructure, many of the African lions could become significant manufacturing regions in the near future. Then there are the BRICS countries. They make up a supranationalist association of emerging national economies: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The BRICS members are NICs, with the exception of Russia, which is often regarded as an MDC. They are distinguished by their large, often fast-growing economies and significant influence on regional and global affairs. And if we add Mexico to the mix, we can use another acronym to describe these countries: McRibs. And to finish off, we circle back to largely where we started, with another supranationalist association, the Group of 20, which represent 20 of the world's largest economies, including most of the countries discussed previously. Collectively, they represent about 80% of global trade and 80% of global GDP, according to purchasing power parity. Its mandate is to promote growth and economic development across the globe. All told, the world we know is a planet in flux, continuously evolving as technology improves, production shifts, and people's wants and desires change.
Warriors, come out to play. Warriors, come out to